All right. Tell me when you guys can see me again. Because, as you say, I don't want to just be... Yeah, back. All right, good. Yep, good deal. I hereby say that Quindy is correct and Justin is bad luck. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There, puppy cam. The puppies will save us. And a puppy trying to kiss the camera. There you go. The puppy, I'm hoping the puppy mojo will protect us. Yes. They are happy little wigglers. They're soggy puppies because they're getting a lot of rain up where they are. Yes, very cute. Oh yeah, she just did a whole new set of photos of the puppies actually. Well, maybe in a little bit. Maybe in a little bit I'll show you guys some more pictures. Since I get to go and see these guys at the end of the week. I'll be up there on we're driving up on Friday. Flying into Seattle on Thursday. And then there will be wigglies. Much wigglies. Tiny wigglies. And puppies getting into trouble, I'm sure. So you can see the difference in the color here. I've shaded this and I haven't shaded on the other side of the arm. You did miss puppies, Julie. Here. Or I can fix that, though. Oh, and my favorite puppy's in the center on this one. There you go. So that guy's my fave. Like, he's been my pick since the beginning. He looks like a little lion. Oh, okay, that's cuter. That's cuter. So cute. Shiloh puppies, I tell ya. They're adorbs. I think those are the cutest pictures. My favorite is totally a camera hog. Okay, that's a cutie too. Here you go. She's a cutie. She's adorable. That little reddish girl. Yes, these are Kiri great-great-grand puppies. Great-great-grand puppies. Kiri had her litters when she was 3 and 4 years old, so much younger, and she passed when she was almost 13 years old. So it's been an average Shiloh Shepherd generation. It's probably around that, around 3 years to 4 years. I think when I last calculated, our average generation was 3.5 years. Because girls can't breed in our breed until they're at least 2. And then often the first litter, you might not get a breed quality puppy. If you do, then awesome. But then that puppy has to be, 2 before it breeds and so on. So usually girls, some breeders, like I always waited until my girls were 3, just for maturity reasons. So yeah. So it's been a lot of generations since Kiri was breeding. So they are great-great-grand puppies. Makes me happy. Makes me happy that Kiri's genes are still scampering around out there. Also, I should find out by the middle to end of April, our puppy's mommy should, or prospective mommy, will be going into heat, hopefully. Oh, and I have a picture of her, too. Hold on. Because, if there's not puppy pictures or doggy pictures, like, what are we doing? There we go. So this is Zammy. Zammy is the mama of our puppy. She is very, very adorable. She's a very happy girl who loves people. And she also likes to do stuff, so I'm looking forward to doing some training. Yeah, she is a pretty dog. And I've known... she's not a Kiri descendant, but Uh-oh, wrong color, Anne. But because I've been in the breed for so long, I knew Zammy's parents and grandparents. I like knew all of the dogs behind her. Yeah. So like I personally met like every dog in the lineage up to the grandparents and yeah, I didn't meet the great grandparents, but let's just say that I know these lines. And I like them a lot, so. But yeah, she's a beautiful girl, so. Now I'm going to shade, as you can see, like the spear casts a dark shadow down here. That means I can paint my shadow color pretty much all over down here. I'm going to leave a little bit of this muscle over here and a little bit of the hip a little bit lighter. But down here, everything is dark. So don't sweat it, just paint it dark. Paint it with your shadow color. You can, if you feel like it's too dark at the end, you can always come back and add a highlight. But you need to reinforce in your brain that like light is not falling here, so it's going to be a darker color. And that's perfectly okay. It's not being lazy, it's being realistic. So look at how much the muscle groups are standing out now that I'm doing all this, by the way. And it's not really that dark of a shadow, but it's making a very large impact. Now I do feel like I want some lining here to define the face and the facial hair and stuff. Usually with skin, I start dark and work light, Agent Marvel. With this one, I thought I had a dark enough base coat, but then I realized with how ripped he is, I wanted a darker shadow, so I came in. So my general rule is actually to start with the shadow and work up on skin, but sometimes I start in the middle and work down and up if I decide that I need to change something or I need a little bit more of X or Y. So in other words, it depends. As with many things in miniature painting. Yeah, it's kind of the cool thing about being involved with the breed, Iffy, is that I've been in the breed for over, gosh, we got Leo back in 2007. And 2008 was the first time I went to our national event. And at the national, you get a lot of dogs and you get to meet a lot of dogs. So that's when I essentially got involved in the breed, I would say, since 2008. So it's been 14 years. And because I am involved as a puppy evaluator and stuff like that, that means I travel around. I get to meet a lot of the dogs, more than other people might. So it is really cool. I have a very good feel for the different lineages and what they kind of bring to the table. It's the good and bad thing about being in a small breed, right? Because you wish you had more genes, but at the same time, it allows you to have a very good, comprehensive idea. It's kind of like working with a paint line that's small. Like if you work with a paint line that only has a few colors in it, you get to know those colors really well. But you kind of wish sometimes you had other colors. So there you go, dog genetics and paint. Direct analogy. No, Korniko, I hate this about US breeding, but the AKC puts no limit on litters. The AKC will let you breed your dog 28 times if you want. Like, there are studs out there. Like, I hate it. Europe is so much more, better as far as, rules. But nobody puts any rules on anything here with dog breeding. My Shiloh Shepherd organization, we have rules because we believe that structure is necessary and that you can really get in trouble without it. Because it's population genetics. It's not just about your personal freedom. But most breeders in the United States want to do their own thing and they don't want anybody telling them what they can and can't do. It's that freedom thing. Freedom versus regulation. And so that's kind of a problem though when you get a dog that's overused and then it turns out to have carried a really bad disease in its genes and stuff like that. So yeah, I won't go into it, but yeah, let's just suffice to say that my organization has a limit that you can only breed your female between age 2 and age 6, and then she is retired. That's our version of that rule. Yeah, I mean the doggos don't. The stud dogs probably really don't care, but the gene pool suffers for it when you have one dog is used too much. Yeah, you guys are a lot more progressive, Kerniko, about modern thinking about science, and a lot of dog breeders in the U.S. are just kind of breeding their dogs because they think their dogs are really awesome, and they don't necessarily know a lot about genetics. It's a shame. So just going in here and kind of like bringing out the nose a little bit, because I've just got, it's kind of looking weird at me, so I'm touching it up. But yeah, technically probably in the US, I mean, that's why we have things like puppy mills, right? Although those are, but you know, of course they try to break those up and, you know, stamp them out. But yeah, there's no limit. On the female dogs, I mean, you can only breed with as many heats as you have. But I'm sure people breed their dogs much younger and much older than we do. All right, just a little bit. Once I get the face kind of base coated, I like to put that lining in so that I can see the features a little bit better. Block in the mouth on the shadow. Oh, okay. I don't think so, Turgeon. That would be like the other end of the scale. I'll look into that, though. That's interesting. I am of the opinion that responsible breeders should be encouraged. Reputable breeders should be encouraged. There are so few of us. But, you know, so yeah, I like to do the lining here just because after I've got this down, I kind of want to make a barrier between the skin and the primed area or other areas around it. I find that putting this dark line in, because essentially this is essentially putting in a very minimal shadow, right? A minimalistic shadow, very efficient shading. And putting this in lets me see the skin tone a little bit better. Remember how when you put a color down next to another one, how it changes the appearance? So when you put this dark lining shadow down, it will let you see the skin tone. Like before, the skin tone may have looked really dark, but the minute that I put this down, suddenly those shadows don't look so dark anymore. So like if I cover this up, the shadows look really dark, and if I put it up, then it doesn't look quite as dark anymore. So I do like to line, and I like to line both just for, you know, my own kind of, you know, segmenting off parts of the mini mindset, and also because I feel like it does give me a better feel for the actual lightness or darkness of the skin tone. Yeah, I saw it. Hello, Cinder. So yeah, so that's why I do this. That's why I stop and after I block in kind of, you know, maybe my base coat, maybe some additional shading, I will stop and do the lining. I'm using Rogue Shadow today because my brown liner lives in the other room. But either Rogue Shadow or brown liner are good. Rogue Shadow covers a little bit better, so if you want a darker line that is more cartoony or more dramatic, then Rogue Shadow stays a bit darker when you thin it. Brown liner is a little bit more natural. I actually like to work with brown liner because I feel like I can get it to emulate a natural shadow a little bit easier. I have to thin the rogue shadow more to get it to that point. Rogue shadow, of course, being a fast palette color. But yeah, so putting that dark line in, suddenly the shadows don't look as dark as they did before. So that helps me kind of bring up the skin tone a little bit more. And it helps me to de-emphasize the shadows there. And so they don't look, it's not going to make it look quite as dramatic of highlight and shading. You can get like to the Frank Frazetta level if you go almost near black on your shading and you bring it all the way up. But I didn't really want to do that with this one. So... because once you paint one thing with really high contrast, you've got to paint everything with really high contrast. Oh, thanks, Eric. Yeah, that makes sense. Cats like pizza? Well, I guess it's more for them because I can't eat it. I wouldn't use inks. I'd just use a dark color cinder. If I can't get a liner color, the next thing I would use would be like walnut brown, which is almost a black brown. And back in the old days when I used Vallejo, I used SS Camo Black Brown. It was actually one of my favorite lining colors ever. So I always reach for a dark brown to line instead of using an ink. Just because inks are very, very watery. You can line with them, but kind of watch the finish, because what I find with on inks is they tend to be shiny, which is the opposite of what you want in your shadows. You want your shadows to stay dark, not to reflect the light. So you may need to add some matting additive to your inks. Just test the finish and make sure that it works for lining. Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what those are as far as chemically. That was the Pathfinder set number 2. Because acrylic inks, like the De La Rowney's, and most paint companies seem to be going to acrylic inks. Those are really just heavy-bodied washes. Like, they're just a little bit different. But they should be okay for lining as long as the finish is okay. It's just that a lot of those colors tend to have a slightly like glossy finish. And that's usually not anything you want when you're trying to bring out details in miniature painting. And one of the purposes of lining is to outline and bring out detail. So keep that in mind. I always just reach for the darkest brown in a given line. And if I have to mix a little bit more black into it, I will. If the dark brown isn't very dark. One of the most vivid memories I have of being a smaller child is when I was in like Girl Scouts, like brownies, must have been when I was really, really young. And we were at somebody's birthday party, and they had cats and kittens in the house. And I remember their big like orange cat jumping onto the table, grabbing a hot dog out of somebody's bun and running off with it. That is when you say your cats try to get at your pizza, that's what I think of Cornico. I remember that orange cat grabbing the hot dog and running off with the hot dog bouncing on one end of its mouth. The lining, Babel? It factors in, absolutely. Like it's a minimal, it's a very tight shading. It's your darkest level of shading usually. You don't have to line, you can just shade instead and make it a bit more organic. But on 28mm, I tend to always line because it's the most efficient way to bring out those little details. So I may cover over parts of it, but usually I'll bring it back if I do. So like when I paint in this breastplate, if I totally like wipe out the lining, I'll notice right away and I'll bring it back, or I'll shade really darkly there and bring it back that way. But it's both. It's to give me both a reference for light and dark on the figure, because it sets up my darks. So I'm like, all right, that is my darkest color on the figure. There's that and the horse hooves down here, right? So it sets that up. It lets me see better my skin tone realistically, because then I have that to compare it to. And then it'll stay. I mean, I definitely don't cover it over. I should grab my, here. I do it less on big models. One second. But I still do it. So, my competition guy, my competition winner, you can still see the lining in the mouth and around the eyes and around the teeth here. See between the teeth too. Around the metallics, see the lines. So what happens is when you introduce lining on a very large model, it tends to actually look pretty organic. This guy is very, very high contrast, and so the lining ends up looking more or less natural. But yeah, so even on big models, I line. But when I talked about using shading instead, you can see here against the fur where it goes over the leather, there's more of a shadow. That's me using lining just as a layered shadow in there instead of a line. So it depends really on how tight you want your detail to be, how much of the lining you keep out. Does that make sense? Like how much of the lining you keep. Yes, Siffy, that is my entry for Adepticon. I won a trophy with it. See here, face cam. I should just like Photoshop this over my face. Yeah, there's a limit as to what I can go into on those like simple videos. You like that, Quindy? Should I just make it my face? Pendrake, that's my first trophy in 20 years. It has been exactly 20 years since I won my Golden Demon. My first Golden Demon. And my last Golden Demon. So I guess it's not quite because it was summer. But close enough. 20 years. I don't even care what color the trophies are. I just like the fact that I got a trophy. Most of the time I think the bronze and silver ones are prettier than the gold ones anyway. So yes, so lining is for contrast. Lining is to force contrast. And then as you continue to paint, you can question whether you need to force that level of contrast or if you should do more of a blending kind of thing on it. No, I would never do that, Crowley. Not ever. Oh, okay, you played the VOD earlier this morning. Nah, I would never repaint a trophy. When you don't have the right color and you want a prettier one, all you have to do is keep entering till you get it. I always used to joke I was sad that both my Golden Demons were silvers as well. Because I thought the gold and the bronze ones were really, really pretty. And I was like, I need to win all the colors. It needs to become Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch every color of trophy. There we go. And I blurfed a little bit back here on this line. It got a little bit irregular, but that's easy. You're missing gold, Bryce? Well, now with the competition level, it's going to be harder than ever. I don't know. I'm excited. It was great to see so many awesome entries. All right, I'm going to line the fingers, of course. Oh, did he? Huh, well, thank you, Mr. Lovejoy. You know how it is, Bryce. You look at your own work and all you see are the flaws. All you see are the parts where, oh, I should have pushed that a little more. Oh, I could have done this. And other people look at your work and they're like, I think we always look, everybody, it doesn't matter what level you are, but we're always looking at our work and we see the flaws. And sometimes it discourages us and it shouldn't. And we don't want to listen to other people say it's good because we feel like we know better because we did it and we know it's not good. But that's not true at all. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And sometimes it doesn't matter if you can look at your work and see all the flaws if other people look at your work and they love it and they enjoy it and it really resonates with them, it doesn't matter. Like, it's theirs too when they're looking at it. It's their vision of it. I held off because I wasn't feeling it with my entry with Golden Demon this year, Bryce. But also, this is my MO. I stalk Golden Demons. I go the year before I'm going to enter. I look at what wins. I look at the quality of it. I see it in person. That gives me an excellent idea of what I need to do to win next year. This is how I won my Golden Demons. I stalked them in 2001, and then I'm like, I can do that. And I came back in 2002, and I won too. So I'm a Golden Demon stalker. It was bound to be random this first year. It was bound to have, like, you know, this is establishing. Everybody does that, Kerniko. Everybody. Everybody sits there and stares at the flaws on their minis. Especially if you're trying to get better. Like, if you're actively trying to get better, then you are doomed to see the flaws. Hello, Gent. Thank you for the resub. 27 months. Wow. Thank you. We appreciate it. Go, go. Reaper supporters. So, lining the fingers. Even if you decide that it's a little bit too much later, you can always kind of put a glaze over it and tone it down. But do line between the fingers, guys. Golden Demon Stalker sounds like a homebrew class for 5e. Yeah, right, Bryce. I wondered if he was embarrassed about it afterwards, because David and I actually met the painter of that skink. And he was like, we wondered if you were just out to enter the smallest model possible. And he was like, no, I was running out of time and I wanted to paint something small. So he just picked that entry because he was like, I can do my best job on something this size. But I wonder if it were me, I would feel so like kind of embarrassed about that. On the other hand, as I told David, this is Games Workshop sending a message. Like, all of this is just information for us, right? It's information they're giving us. And what they're saying is, it's not that they're not rewarding the big awesome pieces, because those pieces still got Golden Demons. But GD is essentially going, we are putting up this model as Slayer Sword because it's the epitome of the ideal of what we want, and we also want to make Golden Demons accessible for your average painter. Like, I think it's part of it making it more accessible of a competition. Because back in the old days, you had to like freaking scratch sculpt. And I'm not a scratch sculptor. So I always felt a little bit down on that. So I feel like this is GD saying that, is Golden Demon is going back to being a painting competition. Yes, bring your all if you want to bring your all. But be aware that if you do something gigantic, it must be perfect. It's not just going to get Slayer because of wow factor. Which is fair. It's how they run their comp. So, for me, it's kind of a relief, weirdly. That's why getting good feedback is all about it, right, Quantum? Yeah, and for those who don't know, after all the great models at Golden Demon, the thing that won the Slayer Sword, which is the best in show, was a very simple, not converted Lizard Man Skink, which is a small model, painted absolutely technically perfectly. Like every tiny little tooth highlighted, it was a perfect execution on a very small simple mini. But things like the giant dioramas that had a ton of scratch sculpting and conversion and scratch building of stained glass windows also won Golden Demons, but they did not get the best in show. But yeah. Yes, a skink won. Yeah. Well, he used Artemis as an armature. He used the tank as an armature, and he just, yeah. Yeah. It's true. Scratch sculpting means they're sculpting the figure from nothing, Babel. So like, or they're doing like Bryce just or somebody else was just brought up Joe Orteza. So what Joe did is he took like a generic Space Marine 72 millimeter model, and he covered the entire thing with green stuff and resculpted everything. So that's kind of scratch sculpting. So scratch sculpting is like what Reaper sculptors do, like Bob and Julie, when they build a model from just an armature. That's scratch sculpting. So yeah, the stained glass one was rad. I think it was Ben Comets, wasn't it? So back in the old days, back 20 years ago when I was competing in Golden Demon, it was getting to the point where you felt like you almost needed to scratch sculpt your entry to win a Slayer sword, because they really rewarded a lot of conversion and a lot of, that kind of building aspect. But now it seems to be sliding back toward they really, the painting is primary and everything else is secondary. So, I mean, I expect that there will be like heavily converted and sculpted models that will win a Slayer. But just for this one, it's definitely rewarding the painting. So we'll see. I know, I always felt it was very interesting. Golden Demon was always very interesting to me. It's such an alien beast compared to other painting competitions in the world. But I will say that if you want a friendly contest, that if you want, to actually like get encouragement and feedback and like just see kind of where you are and learn where you like your next steps are, like enter Master Series Open at ReaperCon. Like, if you want to try your first painting competition, I think the MSP Open is like a great way to start out, like trying a competition. Because it is possible to get feedback, it lets you get your feet wet. You're not competing against anyone else. Like Golden Demon definitely has a gold, silver, and bronze for each category. But Reaper doesn't do that. Reaper is like, if your paint job deserves a silver medal, it's going to get a silver medal because we use open system. So, oh, did they? Warhammer Community, so you got to see everybody? Thanks for that, Cornico, because I didn't actually get to stay for the award ceremony. We had to catch a plane. So we did not get to see all the models like put up in person. So I don't necessarily remember like who got gold, silver, bronze in each category, and I wanted to double check that to see which of my friends won. Although as Matt DiPietro kind of put it, it's we're such a small community. Like when you ask which of my friends won, eventually it's just everybody. All of my friends won because everybody is my friend. Which is kind of the nice thing about the mini painting community. And that's something that doesn't change from like being a basic painter in the Reaper community to being like a really high level painter in like the international community. Like we're still, no matter where you look, mini painting is still full of great people. All right, I need to line there. Sorry, trying to get the only problem with pre-assembled models is sometimes you have to like stick your brush into weird places, right? Yeah, you could also do some Patreons. Some painters have Patreons with coaching levels bots. So like if you feel ever like you're not getting great feedback on a public forum, then you can always like maybe look for a painter you admire and see if they have a coaching thing for available, either on Patreon or just privately. A lot of us do private coaching, or we're open to it. So when you get there. The Reaper Discord also, I believe, is a good place to get feedback. But yeah, there's and just make friends in the community, help each other, give each other feedback, learn to look critically at models in a good way. You always want to give people like idea of the good stuff that they're doing right, as well as the stuff that maybe work on, you know. But yeah, ReaperCon is coming up for Labor Day at the beginning of September. So now is the time to get going on your entries, folks. Yeah, that's true. The Reaper Challenge League is also a great wheel. If you need to just do, if you need to just paint a lot of models and get a lot of feedback, then the Reaper Challenge League is a really good incentive. Once you get to the point where you're spending a lot more time on each model to get better and you're learning more advanced techniques and you need help with that, or maybe with color or with light placement or things like that, that's where private coaching can really level you up. But yeah, totally the Reaper community is really, really supportive. And it also depends on what kind of feedback you're looking for. Like some people really like hard feedback. Reaper is a lot more friendly feedback, I think. Not to say it's not valuable, but I mean, there are plenty of venues out there that are going to just kind of rip your model apart for you if you want them to, and sometimes even if you don't want them to. So if you are looking for a friendly feedback experience, Reaper, and that's not to say that the people in the Reaper forum can't paint, because forum and Discord, because there are lots of good painters in our community. But in general, everybody's very helpful about feedback. Just make sure you tell people, you know, what sort of feedback you're looking for. Like say kind of, you know, I'm a new kid, take it easy on me. Or say, okay, I need you to be really hard on me. Like, what do I need to change? No matter where you are, that's a good tactic. Because letting people know kind of what you're looking for as far as type of feedback is really helpful. It helps you, you know, because if you feel like if it's too hardcore, you're going to get defensive or you're going to just feel bad about yourself, like let people know, go easy on me. Yes, and then there's the make me cry feedback. Yes. I talk about flipping the switch in my brain. When somebody comes up to me at ReaperCon and says, could you please critique my model? I'm always like, okay, so should I flip the switch in my brain to hardcore, or are we still on easy mode, right? And I give I have a different feedback style for each of those. So. But yeah, the RCL is really fun. It's really actually kind of a brilliant idea on Reaper's part. If you feel like you're like having trouble getting motivated to paint, the RCL is like awesome that way. So I'm starting to block in, just my highlight color was a little bit strong. So we've got 10 minutes. So let us talk about, since Iffy was saying she wanted abdominals help. She wants if you want an ab workout, right? So let us make sure that our shadows are all shaped correctly here. Got a little bit sloppy. All right. Alrighty. So when you're highlighting, the first thing you ask yourself is, what is the shape of this surface? And where is my light coming from? Those are your questions right off the bat. In this case, our light is coming from above. That means our highlights are going to be more toward the light, and our shadows are going to be away from the light. And if the area that we are painting is not see-through, which skin kind of is on the very outside surface, but a muscle is not really see-through, then your shadow is going to be pretty hard and dark on the underside, just like it is here. Since your light is coming from above, you want your highlights to be toward the top. And you also, because the surface is round, remember what shape is the surface, that means your highlight will be round as well. So I'm going to block in just a little round highlight. That is a very shiny highlight right now. I probably need to thin down my paint a little bit more. I'm going to take my mid-tone and kind of blend that in a little bit. It got a little out of control. We'll let that dry, but you can see how that brought things up. Because it didn't click with me either. Like even in Sergio's class, I was having trouble with it until afterwards I really kind of internalized it. Uh-oh, another hair. A hair, an errant hair, a herent? Yeah, see that little hair coming out the side here? Yeah. Surgery is necessary. Here, we'll get our palette up so we can see it. There is the errant hair. Get your knife in between the errant hair and you and the bricks of the brush. Go down, clip it off. snake it off against the bottom of the ferrule, and then go back to painting. So yeah, muscles, especially abdominal muscles, are rounded. Even this one, even the rib cage here is rounded. So I'm going to do a rounded kind of an arc shape. Oval shapes count, like this muscle right here is an oval. So I've already got kind of a rounded highlight. I'm going to do another rounded highlight, smaller inside of that one, like so. The hip is also a semicircle. The bicep is rounded, so it's an oval. So I'm going to do an oval highlight. Now there's a little bit of a muscle here that's more linear, so we'll just come in and hit that with a bit of a highlight. I did amputate it, yes. Hold on, I missed that up there. Worked as a journalist and had one editor famous for sending reporters back to their deaths in tears. Sought that guy out and became a much better writer. Yep. Exactly. That's why I paid a professional for a developmental edit on my novel. Because if it isn't painful, you aren't learning. It's definitely made me a better writer. All right, so one thing I didn't mention on my spheres PDF, and I actually am going to go back and do an addendum on that, but when the circle is pointed upward, it's the same thing. So a bald head or anything like that, it's just that you're doing a round highlight on the very top of the surface. So here, we're just going to do round. Now, often there's a muscle or a tendon. You can see the split coming in there. I would actually do the round part first, and then maybe bring in some midtone and bring back that little shadow where the muscle kind of has a divot in it. So maybe I'll do some videos too on this shape series to help. I could do some, now that I've got the PDF down. It's something that it's a type of concept that I want to put in a PDF, but then doing a video on it to kind of real time explain also can help. This is an oval highlight, and there's a tendon that leads directly onto it, so I'm going and hitting that. And this is linear. So you can get away with a slight edge highlight there, or a little bit of a highlight. Back here we've got another rounded shape, couple banded, like long elongated muscles. This elbow is a sphere. So yeah, break it down into shapes. So yes, I will be back again tomorrow, and we will be doing hair folk to finish out our week. I was gonna figure out. I had more hair to do. We did the crossbow last time. I need to do some metals on her. I need to think about whether I'm gonna do a pattern on her pants or not, and I do need to bring more. I think a little more highlighting in there. So yeah, we've got some things. She's going very quickly though, the bunny is. So Bryce, I started my model for next Golden Demon already last night. I came away like excited about it. David just wants to play Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but I'm like, I want to paint. Oh, there's a male hair folk now. Well, it's okay. So this is the funny thing. If I'm gonna do my 20-year comeback, right? But seeing that a small model painted well can win was actually very liberating for me, because I am a technical painter. And I always felt like it was a struggle in the old days to get inspiration for like doing a big conversion or something like that. Is like, unlike other people who really, I know there's a lot of people out there who love to build the models and they love to do that sort of thing. I don't. I really enjoy just the painting. I enjoy painting a really beautiful model to a really high standard. So for me to see some of these unmodified models getting demons, like, it's on. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is my kind of competition. That may sound silly. And I'm still probably doing some minor conversions here and there. The cherub challenge. I don't like the cherubs. I'd much rather have a skink challenge. Or maybe an Ungor challenge or something. But, I'm not up. I don't like cherubs. They kind of creep me out, Bryce. Those 40K cherubs. And I try not to paint anything that creeps me out. It's kind of a rule. Yeah, right. Like, it makes it at least majorly about, like, if you do a great conversion red links, you're still going to catch their eye, right? Because I always say that back in the day, the reason that that a lot of sculpting and conversions became the way of the road is that by the time that any of the new models, like, by the time you get to Golden Demon, everybody at Games Workshop has seen all of these models 60 zillion times. And so if you can just change the silhouette a little bit, or you can just do a little bit of something, you have a better chance of catching the judge's eye and such, and it's this swamp of amazing models. But I'm glad to see that really well-painted models succeeded in catching the eye of the judges this year. There was also a Sphinx that was painted all like blue and pink zinch, and I loved that Sphinx. Like, I saw that and I was like, I can just paint an animal and I still have a chance? Oh, yes! Actually, you know what, Bryce? I told David I wanted to paint a unit of Griffhounds. So I might do that. I might be on. I think the Griffhounds are adorable. If you guys haven't seen these are like wingless griffins, except like the rear end is like, well, I guess it's still lion, but you could think of it as a dog. So they're called Griffhounds, and they're adorable. Yes, I'd be up for a Griffhound challenge, Bryce. Totally. In fact, I may paint a unit of them just because. All right, so here, this is a more elongated, it's a little bit of a kind of a comma-shaped area, so you're going to make your highlight the same shape. All that matters is, what is the main shape of the area? Make sure your highlight echoes that shape. So here, this is, again, kind of an oval, right? An oval shape, even though it kind of goes like to a point at either end. That's kind of the shape you want to emulate with your highlights. So as we highlight up, now you can see the muscles coming out more. If at any time I decide this guy gets a little bit too light and I want to bring his skin tone down, I probably would glaze with a brown. But we're not going to get there yet. We're going to actually get all his highlights done. I got a little bit light here, so I want to bring in a little shadow here. Lost a little bit of my midtone. This is a thing when you start layering and you start painting highlights and shadows, you will definitely find that you put a lot of highlight on a piece and you'll lose the midtone. Like here, you can see that I still have bands of the midtone, but then on these two little abs right here, we've lost our midtone. So yeah. Yes, Bone 6 starts Thursday. I will not be here, but we will be doing the streaming, the stream lead up, the launch of Bone 6. So don't worry, there's a replacement for Anne. Yeah, see, I've lost my midtone here, so I'm going to actually paint over my highlight a bit to tone it down a little bit. Noon on Thursday. Yes. And everybody be in, like, let's have some fun on this one. I will be back. And when I come back, if I have dragon bits, I will start painting a dragon. Otherwise, I'll probably paint Elfie Dude here during during the bones. So we may get, our rotation is going to be a little bit wonky, our model rotation during the Kickstarter, because I will be promoting bones models for the Kickstarter. So make my highlights very much smaller, make it so I don't lose my midtone as much, and then I'll like that better. It's not really a good replacement for a dragon, no, but if Stumpy is still Stumpy, I'm not going to start painting Stumpy. Stumpy at least has to have a face. If I have a head, I can start painting the dragon, but I guess I could start painting its wings. I hate the wing. I hate wings, so we could talk about painting dragon wings for eternity until I get Stumpy's limbs. Yeah. Yeah, their models are just expensive. It's true. This is why it's good that we have Reaper and Bones. But yeah, I should do Unit of Gryph-hounds. Except I kind of want to do a Unit of Chaos Knights instead, but oh well, I'll think about it. But the Gryph-hounds are adorable. Alrighty, so then a little bit, this is linear, this tendon here. So we paint it kind of across like a linear cloth. And we try to make our highlight more toward the top. There's a tendon here. Top of the ear. And I think we're headed to, yeah, we have done our thing for, I'm going to just highlight some cheekbones, we'll be done. There we go. So we haven't managed to hit everything. We haven't done our highlight on these guys, but that's all right. We have at least gotten a highlight started on a lot of this other stuff. Some of it I need to bring in a little bit more on, for sure. But yeah, so hopefully you guys kind of get, I like the skin tone better now, so I'm going to rock with it. Whenever you see a tendon or something, you can always bring it in with a little bit of a line highlight when you've got a very muscly person. Yeah, just break it down. Try to break it down and see. And you'd know, one thing to remember, if he has muscles, will always be rounded. So it's either going to be like at most a cylinder, or this is close to a cylinder, but it's more like the bicep is a little bit more of an oval. But an arm in general is a cylinder. So like you can always kind of break it down. And then, yeah, circles, rounded, long, like the rib cage is an oval. Just kind of break it down and remember that almost everything like body, like organically, is going to be rounded. Except when you get to the hands and the back of the hands, then you can do a little bit more like linear highlights and shadows to bring out like tendons and bones and stuff. All right. All right, if there is not a crow's nest, then we blame Justin. This is good. We've got a plan. Thank you all for bearing with us with our slight technical difficulties earlier. I hope that you are having a lovely, lovely start to your week and that you are all looking forward to Bone 6 on Thursday. And again, I will not be here on Thursday, Friday. I will not be streaming on my personal stream on Saturday. I will be in Canada, hopefully, unless I have COVID, then I won't be. Oh well, we'll deal with it if that happens. But Reaper is going to be launching Bone 6 on Thursday at noon. Be there or be square. You know we're going to love it. All right, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye.